I'm going to show you this AFK Ice Farm that I built. I'm going to go through just the parts of it before I turn it on because it gets way too loud. Up top is just your normal ice farm. Has a flying machine on the one end with a sender and a returner. We have furnaces underneath here, which are immovable in Java, and then waterlogged slabs on top that which will refill the spaces, so the pistons can't push them down, and once it goes over, the spaces refill up. Some of these aren't filled up because it's full of I've reached the push limit down below. So yeah, the flying machine basically pushes all this down. When this is what I used to have for an AFK or just a passive ice farm. So I'd let it come through, it'd fly back and forth, and then I would come in, mine it, and I just was looking for something that was a little bit, more AFK, so I could just put on auto clicker or do the F3 and T trick and just sit there for an hour or so and come back and have ice. And this one I tried to figure out some things, and that's when I saw ilmango's new block conveyor. So if you haven't seen one of these, this whole monstrosity to the right, which is from these redstones on, is a block conveyor. So if I can just activate it by hitting that note block, it'll push blocks all the way down. So if we have an ice block here, or a couple ice blocks, it gets pushed all the way down to the end here. I have a command block here just deleting the blocks that go too far. But this is where the player would sit at. And the main issue was trying to get ice into a single row and at a slow enough speed that it wasn't more than 12, so the pistons could push it, and the player could only reach 5 blocks deep. So you had to have you can only really push 5 blocks at a time at a player for them to still be able to get it. So the biggest problem was trying to figure out like a step motor. And that's what I have here down below. All of this is very observer heavy. These are all observers underneath here, facing downward, looking at this little grid of redstone, which only serves the purpose of activating all of the observers at the same time. So what happens here? Let me push this forward to kind of step through it before I turn the machine on fully automatic. So now that this part's engaged, every time I push this button, or every time this gets activated, it pushes forward. Let me trim this tree a little bit. And so it pushes a section, and now the next time it goes, it's going to push a set of ice blocks in. And every push, it just advances one block. And now the next one's starting to go, and this one starts retreating. So I had to figure out a way that would, with timing, that it would be able to push and retreat a single step at a time while allowing blocks on top to be pushed. But so now as it goes down, the sets of blocks keep getting pushed. And when it finally reaches the end, actually I can turn it on all the way now. This is a clock that's set up. It will be a little bit loud. I got my block noise turned down though. So if I turn this on, everything should start working. So I have the clock set up so that it pushes right after the block conveyor goes through. And I had this off for a while, so that's why normally you get 5 at a push. But so yeah, they all just come down here. You can kind of see it from behind as it works. It's a very expensive build. I haven't built this in my survival world yet, but I plan to. I'm at the point in the survival world where getting this amount of resources really isn't an issue. But once this gets down here to the end, there's a circuit that sends off the flying machine. And the flying machine can't push down any more blocks while these lower flying machines are going back and forth, because it will, you know, if you push ice down now, you'll stop things up. You push these out of the way, or things like that. So, all right. So as soon as this gets back here, it should trigger. There we go. So now the flying machine pushes down the next set of ice. And one downside here is that this whole time this flying machine is going, there's no ice being pushed. So that triggers this to go forward, and then the cycle starts all over again. Oh, and one more thing. Underneath here, this is how this is being triggered, just observers. And then it powers and depowers that entire grid of redstone that provides the pulse to the step motors. So in actual operation here, let me turn this off. Oh, actually, let me show you. I have a safety switch here. So if you were actually here and your weapon broke, or something like that happened, and you got too many blocks here and they kept on going, and you reached the push limit, things would all break. So this observer is here. If you're not able to break the blocks and a piece of ice gets here, then it turns the whole thing off. So it just depowers the clock down there, and then everything comes to a stop. And then turn it back on. You just need to remove that ice, and then you can turn it back on. So I think now I'll wait for the next cycle, and then we'll look at it in operation. Let's turn it on, and we'll see what it looks like. So normally as a player you would just stand here and keep your mouse button down, and you can just sit here as long as you want. Sometimes the pushes don't come through with ice just because they it's all very, it's randomly or it's random based on how the ice freezes up top and how quickly it freezes. But the nice thing about the AFK is that time really doesn't matter too much. If you can go make dinner or eat or whatever, and it can just run in the background. You would have to watch out for tool durability and make sure that doesn't break, but I don't have anything set up to automatically swap out weapons or anything like that here. You could set up a timer that like throws out like bottles of enchanting or something like that, but no, that's the basic gist. This is almost one cycle complete. I think I started it right after a cycle started, so we'll finish this cycle and then I'll see what how much ice we got from this one set. So that one, you can see that flying machine on the right is retracting, and that's the end of this cycle. So there's no more ice going to be coming. I just want this to trigger to the flying machine went. And it's a stack. So just a little bit over a stack per cycle. Like I said, not the fastest, but not the point. It's just fun to make and interesting. Of course, with all redstone, I have ideas for how you could change it, make it better. You could add 2 of these that go on either side and both feed into it. There's some other AFK Ice designs out there. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.